Like, this was the book where I was like, okay, I can read weird shit. And the daughter has her mother locked up in a dungeon. This book was about a family coming together in more ways than one. Hi, sweeties. If you don't already know by now, welcome back to our channel. We have reached our reading goal. So the goal was to read 100 books before the end of this year, and we've reached that, and it is currently September. We've actually surpassed it by now. I am on 108 books, only because of the 24-hour readathon I did last week. Watch out for that video coming soon. So I thought, why not pick 30 plus of my favorite books, or books that I can't seem to forget, out of the entire 108. Some of these were a 5-star read, some of these were a 4-star read, some of these were just not to the 4-star, 5-star mark, but they are still in my head. Without further ado, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you have anything to say. Remember, constructive criticism. I repeat, constructive criticism. Let's get into it. Okay, so I think we're going to divide this video into 5 categories: unhinged, romance, thriller, fantasy, and dark romance. I will be ending with dark romance because, if you already know by now, I am a dark romance girly through and through. So first book we're going to talk about is literally called Unhinged. It is by, I forgot who the name of the author is, but I will be placing a picture here on the screen. So basically, this book is, this girl has a how do I explain this without violating community guidelines, restrictions? Basically, she gets it on with a doorknob. Literally a doorknob. Yeah, she more than once. Oh, is it a door? No, I think it's a doorknob. Yeah, because I might be thinking of another one. I read a lot of unhinged books, so yeah, that is why I can't stop thinking about this book. And it was so entertaining. I believe this was my first ever unhinged book. This started my weird reading journey. Like, this was the book where I was like, okay, I can read weird shit and actually enjoy it, because it was so entertaining, it was so funny. At one point I'm like, you did what? Where did you insert it? Moving on, book 2, we have Morning Glory Milking Farm. See, with this book here, it is a fantasy unhinged book. That being said, humans live with animals, you know, and animals are more humans. They have jobs, they have families, they have jobs, they have families, etc. So basically, she is unemployed. She finds a job at a milking farm where she needs to milk bulls. But let's remember, you cannot milk a bull because bulls don't have milk or produce milk. So she has to milk something else. You'll have to find out what that something else is. So moving on, she finds out that one of the clients she's actually milking is attracted to her, and she's attracted to him. So a long story short, they come together in more ways than one. I actually only have 3 thriller books that I've read this year, or thus far, that I highly enjoyed and could not stop thinking about. 3 or 4, not sure. So the first book we have The Housemaid is Watching, and the second book we have The Housemaid's Secret. The third book is out, but I have not gotten my hands on the physical copy yet. Hopefully we'll get that soon so I can finish off the series and annotate it properly. But let's get into what both of them are about. In 3 of the books in the entire series, I believe it is around a maid named Nina. So in the first book, Nina is cleaning the Winchester household, but everything is not as it seems. She is what we call a live-in maid, meaning she stays at the house. There's something sinister going on in the house because, one, the wife is always lying and creating a mess around the house for no reason at all, and number 3, the husband is always sad and depressed. So she's trying to figure out what's going on, but then before she can find out what's going on, she realizes that the room in which she's staying in, the door only locks from the outside, and everything is just chaotic after that. This was such a fast-paced, fun, thrilling book, and I kept on trying to figure out what the hell is going on. You know, when you feel, or when you're reading something, you're like, nah, something's not right, like something is gonna happen. That is how I felt every freaking chapter in this book. I could not put it down. This was my first ever thriller book, and it was amazing, lived up to the expectations, and this is what got me into thrillers actually. And then we jump straight into the second book. With this one, we're starting things off differently. With this one, she is no longer a maid, but because of certain circumstances that happen, she goes back to being a maid. She is hired by the husband because the wife needs assistance. The catch is she never sees the wife. Like, she has never seen the wife until she hears commotions upstairs. She hears commotions, she hears someone cry, she sees blood every time she cleans the bathrooms, and she's trying to figure out, okay, I saw the mister like a minute ago and he was perfectly fine, he was neat, he was handsome, all put together, but I've never seen the wife, and I hear this commotion upstairs and I hear this sound, so someone's in the house with me, so it's either the wife or she's trying to figure out, okay, what is going on here, like what happened. Again, gripping plot. Another one where I could not figure out what the fuck is going on. Like, I could not get the plot twist. The plot twist they gave me blew my mind because I did not see this one coming as well. And I think that's how you know a thriller is good, when you're trying to figure out the plot twist and you think you have an idea. When you actually find out what it is, you're gagged, you're shocked, you feel bamboozled. And that was me that the housemaid is watching. Okay, the third thriller book I cannot shut up about. I feel like this was my favorite out of the entire thrillers that I've talked about thus far. It is Verity by Colleen Hoover. And I know this one, you've seen it all over motherfucking book talk. Like, if you are a thriller person or even just person that wants to get into reading, I know you've been recommended Verity by Colleen Hoover a lot. If they haven't recommended this book, you might want to look for other people that like recommend good books. But anyways, so this one is about a writer named Lowen. Lowen is hired by Verity's husband to finish her manuscript because Verity had an injury, so she can't work. Shabu. So Verity's husband is like, Lowen, come to our house so you can just check out her space, check out her work, and then continue from there. Lowen is like, okay, fine, I'll come and stay at your place. That's perfectly fine. Moving on. So Lowen gets to the house and goes through Verity's work, her manuscript, everything she's ever written, up until she comes across like a certain manuscript. So as she is reading this manuscript page by page, she is shocked at the realization of what Verity has done to her own family. And this comes right after Verity and her husband have gone through such a traumatic experience with the entire family. So Verity finding this manuscript and reading it page by page leaves her so freaking shocked that she can't believe that a person could be so evil and twisted to that extent. As the whole Lowen reading Verity's manuscript is going on, she develops feelings for Verity's husband. So now you're thinking to yourself, wait, if you discovered these things about Verity and you're in love with the husband, that means you are going to tell the husband, right? Because you want to keep them all to yourself. Does that happen? Read the book and find out. Read the book and find out. When I tell you, this book, I finished this book in less than 24 hours. Hell, I think I finished this book in less than 6 hours. That's how good this book was. Once I picked it up, I could not put it down because I tried to understand how a person could be that sick, how a person could be that twisted. And let me tell you, till this day, I don't know what to believe with regards to the ending. Like, there are two stories. Like at the end of the book, you will know two sides of the story, but who will you believe? Who? The timing. And the fourth and last book is called What Lies Between Us. So in this book, we find two characters, a mother and daughter. I forgot their names. The daughter has her mother locked up in a dungeon. Oh, not dungeon, basement. Why did I say dungeon? Anyways, she has her mother locked up in a dungeon. And that is because her mother kept certain secrets from her, and so as punishment she keeps her locked down there. Now what she doesn't know is that her mother is also keeping way more important secrets from her as well, to protect her, even though she has her locked in a motherfucking basement. As the mother tries to bond with her daughter and try to figure out, okay fine, can you please let me go, certain things are revealed, secrets are told. So the result of that, shit goes down. When I tell you, I did not expect the plot. I swear, with each one of these books, the plot twists were perfect. I did not expect what I got in each of these books, and I highly recommend each and every one of them. With all these thrillers, I swear these were 4-star, 5-star reads for me, and that is it. I'm not much of a fantasy girly, and I'm saying this because I did a 24-hour readathon, and that's when I figured out that yeah, I do not pick fantasy as my go-to for anything. So you'd have to be said, for me to read a fantasy book, you must have done a phenomenal job in selling that book to me. With that being said, let's get into it. The first two books that are fairly new to me, that are part of a series that I have fallen in love with, are Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Waguchi. Sorry if I butchered the name and surname. Now the first two books that I've read in the series is Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Tales from the Cafe. Now the entire series is about this magical coffee shop that can transport people to the past and to the future as well. But there's certain terms and conditions that you need to follow in order for that to happen, and also certain things you need to abide by in order for you to return to the present in which you live in, or to the time in which you live in. Yeah. In each book, I believe it's in every single book, it is a 4-part story, meaning that there are 4 different stories in each and every book. Each and every part is a story about different people. When I tell you, I cried in both of these books. Because certain parts are so beautiful, certain parts are so gut-wrenching, and I'm trying to understand how someone can write such a gut-wrenching story in the most beautiful way. These were beautiful, and the fact that they were translated from Japanese, perfection. The next series I'll be talking about is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber, which consists of Caraval, Legendary, and this is another Legendary. Where's Finale? I have 2 copies of the same book. Finale by Stephanie Garber. This entire series was beautiful. It was giving game night. It was giving carnival as well. It was giving both game night and carnival all into one. So to explain it short, Caraval is like a magical world where people go in order to play this game where you're given a riddle and then you have to solve that in order to get the next one, and up until there's like 5 levels, I think, I can't remember, but up until you get to the last one, and if you're a winner, you are granted 1 wish, like anything you want, 1 wish as the winner. So this entire trilogy follows 2 sisters. I will not be explaining to you what each and every book entails, because I saw by the blurb of the book they also don't say it, meaning that if I tell you something about the sisters, then it's a spoiler, which I will not be doing. So all I'm gonna say is the first one is about one sister, the second one is about another sister, and this one is about both of them coming together to fight off, should I say demon? Okay, fates. They're called fates, which are like the terrible people in the story, or like the monsters in the story are called fates. This one, they come together to fight fates. Okay. These were my first ever fantasy books. No, I'm lying. My first ever fantasy book was Akatar, but I could not get into that world. And so everyone suggested that I read Caraval, and I love that person till this day. This is my Roman Empire in terms of fantasy. This is what has gotten me into fantasy, even though it's not my go-to, but this story is so beautiful. Loved every minute of it. Top 1 fantasy series, honestly, for me. And it's YA. It's not complicated in terms of world building. What that means is getting into reading about, you know, dragons and where they stay and how their place is or whatever, so like that. It's not about dragons, no, but then reading about a fantasy place. It is not complicated. It's so easy to get into. There's not a lot going on, but you're gonna love it. Yeah. Last fantasy book that I cannot and will never stop thinking about is the second book in the Akatar series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury by Miss Sarah J. Maas. Now let me tell you, if you've read this book, you'll understand why I am in love with this book. I can't even recommend this series to people because you have to read the first book. The first book was not bad, don't get me wrong. The first book I actually enjoyed. A lot of people did not like the first book. They were like, it gets better, the series gets better, but I enjoyed the first book. This is the second book, but I feel like this book was so much better than the second book, and I feel like this is going to be the best book out of the entire series. And so that's why I'm like, I don't want to read anymore because this has to be it for me. But the way the ending was giving cliffhanger vibes, I am forced to read the third book, even though this is my favorite book in the entire series. And I can't even tell you what it's about because I'll be spoiling the first one. But this was so beautiful. Especially... can't spoil it. I can't spoil it. I can't... what do I say about this book? Even the blurb is giving spoiler to the first one, so I can't. Yeah, go read the book. Go read the book. Yeah. I've read so many romance books. Like I've read quite a few romance books, but there have been ones where, yeah, till this day I believe that man deserves everything. Literally, that man, we are in that man's world. We need to go find another planet. That is how I felt with some of these romance books. But let's just get straight to it. The first book that I believe every single book girly, or if you've read the series, we can agree on this one. Twisted Game by Anna Huang. This is the second book in the Twisted series. I think we can all agree this book was phenomenal. This book was beautiful. This book was everything it needed to be. Because tell me why or how you got a motherfucking princess, soon to be queen, crawling to you on her motherfucking knees and hands just towards you just because you said crawl to me. This is a forbidden romance between a princess and her bodyguard. And when I tell you, they say this man is the best of the best. Like, he has never been tempted. He has never failed at his job. Like, he is top notch. People call him for the president's safety. That is how big this man is, you know? And he will literally grovel. This man will literally people for just looking at her the wrong way. The spicy scene in this book made me feel the chemistry between two people. Like, I understood it. Like, I got it. This was it. The hype in this book was it. This book was so good. I'm scared to continue the rest of the series just because I believe, what more is there to say? Who else can top them? Who else is better than? What other masterpiece can surpass this in the series? Because you gave us this as book 2. There's book 3 and 4, but should I even read it? Is it going to be enough? Is it going to live up to this or even surpass this? I am scared. The answers to those questions I just asked is a big fat no. So that is why I'm still on book 2 of the Twisted series. Anyways, next book we're gonna talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. V-E, yeah, sorry for butchering the surname. This book was, okay, this was my second book club book of the month. When I tell you, I went into this book not expecting it to be good. Let me tell you, it was not good. It was beautiful. It was everything it needed to be in 500 plus pages. This book follows a girl, Addie, who makes a deal with the devil. As we all know, the devil never plays fair, so I understand how Addie expected the devil to be fair. Anyways, she makes a deal with the devil. He agrees. I think the deal was she wants to live forever, right? Yes. He agrees. But then the trick is each and every time she meets someone, 5 seconds later they forget her. As soon as they turn around and face her again, they do not remember her. She is not even a memory in anyone's mind. She lives like this for 3 years. Oh, 300 years. Sorry, massive difference. She lives like this for 300 years until she meets someone who finally remembers her name, can say her name, because throughout the 300 years she made the deal with the devil, no one was able to say her name. She could not literally tell anyone her name, but with this guy, she could tell him her name. She could wake up to a person that remembers her, that sees her and has a memory of her, and not just like the recollection of, okay, I'm seeing you for the first time. They have that look in their eye of, oh, like we have something. And that was so beautiful to me. So this is like a before and after type of book, where it takes us to before being the 300 years. She lived her life with people not remembering her, and after being her life with the guy that remembers her. When I tell you, the ending of this book got me so mad. It got me so mad. And then the author had the decency to be like, nope, this is an open type of ending. I will not be writing a sequel. The beauty is, I think her exact words was, the beauty is in the ending. The beauty is in, I think her explanation was, the beauty is in an open ending. And I remember saying, was the beauty in the room with us when I was reading the ending to this book? Because till this day I am mad at the ending. Yeah, but let's carry on. The next book we're gonna talk about, I think if you know me by now, or if you've seen me on Book Talk a lot, you know this is my most, I think, top one book, honestly. Like 2024, this book was it for me, number one. And that book is, if you don't know by now, I'm mad at you. And especially if you follow me on Book Talk and you don't know this book. A Little Life. Till, I think I read this book once, 4 months ago. Till this day, I cannot give a book review on this book because I will end up crying. Till this day. I don't know when the day will come where I can genuinely sit down and talk about this book without sobbing, without crying. This book is so beautiful. This book is everything it needed to be. This book is worth every single hype out there. And if you've heard bad things about this book, don't come to me with that. Don't come to me with that. This book was, oh. And again, it's not everyone's cup of tea, because a lot of people were like, it's a bit slow for them, or it's not getting where it needs to be, it's not fast enough for them. And I get that. For me, it was everything, and it still is everything. It will literally forever be everything to me. And the fact that I cannot read this for the first time makes me want to cry. The fact that I cannot experience this book as if I'm a newborn or I've never touched it in my life makes me so sad. Oh, Jude, my baby Jude. You live rent-free in my head, my heart, and my soul. Next books are the second and third book in the Windy City series, which is The Right Move and Caught Up by Liz Tomford. So let me tell you why these are actually my one of the books I can't stop thinking about. This book got me into sports romance. This was my first ever sports romance book, and this was my first ever single father trope. So you can understand how I felt going into them. I was very skeptical because I've never read that type of genre. So going into it, I felt maybe I might not like it. And if I do not like it, it's gonna ruin the entire genre for me. And I know going into it from there on out, it's gonna be like, I'd rather not. But when I tell you, these books were a masterpiece. These books were gorgeous. These books were everything. This book made me fall in love. Not fall in love, so sorry. This book made me believe in love. Like the chemistry, the things he said to her, the things he did for her. Unmatched. Unfucking matched. And this is I think, fake dating. I think one thing about me, I'm a fake dating girl. Like the trope fake dating, if you see it, give it to me. Fantastic. Give me 14 of them right now. Fake dating. That's just how I am. I think that has become one of my favorite tropes. Definitely top 3. Fake dating, single father, both of them sports romance. He plays, what is it, NBA what, give me something, Chicago NBA team. That's all they're giving me, nothing else. I know it's not basketball, it's not hockey. I think it's, what's that one with the stick? It's not even a stick, a bat. Yeah, that one, that sport. These were amazing, and I would highly recommend, especially if you want to get into reading, these two. Actually, going into this book, I did not know it was part of a series up until I got on Book Talk and was like raving on about this book, and they're like, oh, you should read the third book, it's so freaking fantastic. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It has a third book. They're like, yeah, it's part of a series. There's a first book, which is Mile High, and then this is the second book, there's a third book. I was shocked. But anyways, read these two fantastic 5 stars. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. When I tell you, going into this book, I expected it to be, I don't even know what I expected going into this book, but one thing I can say is I was blown away. I was blown away. The chemistry was there. The physical attraction, I could genuinely the physical attraction I was reading, I could feel it. Each and every time they interacted, each and every time they were talking, it's like I saw 2 people that walked into the room, stared at each other and fell in love. It was like it was happening in front of me. And I feel like that's how you know a book is good, where you can literally picture it way more than just reading. You know, when you're reading and then you can see shit happening in your head. This time I even felt a part of the process. Like, I didn't see myself as the main character though. I saw myself as like the friend or the bystander, just watching love unfold in front of my eyes. And it was so beautiful how 2 completely different people from the same culture can come together and just be this amazing, beautiful, informative self, be themselves. Not only did I fall in love with both characters in this book, but I also fell in love with the culture, the sisterhood, the aunties. At one point, one of the aunties is like, oh, not the auntie, his mom is like, if you get married, I will pay you. I was like, yes, ma'am. Oh, her aunties was like, it's not like you're getting married for love, you're getting married for the money. And I was like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Because why did that slap? I remember I did highlight it here somewhere. Where is it? It's definitely here. Oh yeah, they're like, Prem, if you get engaged this year so I can plan a wedding next year, I'll pay you. They will pay you for getting married. What are they? I think they're Indian. And in this book, I have found out that the Asian stereotype about men is not true. If you don't know what stereotype I'm talking about, forget about it. If you do, the book says it's not true. moving on. We will not be talking about that one. Another book. Oh, this book, I have such a love-hate relationship with this book, as in I love it because it gave everything, and because of that my emotions also gave everything, in terms of tears, in terms of sobbing, in terms of not being able to breathe, in terms of screaming while reading this book. The hate comes from, do you see this cover? When you look at this cover, where would you think the tears will be coming from? Do you think you'd be sobbing while reading this book? Do you think your heart would literally burn while reading this book? No. Happy Place by Emily Henry. The cover is so fucking deceitful that you'd think you're getting into a cute fluffy romance only to get your heart fucking stabbed 30 million times. That is how I felt reading this book. I sobbed. And I remember reading this book when I was on 12-hour readathon with Kelly, and I just kept on crying. And Kelly was there laughing at me. She's like, what is going on? I'm like, read the book. 1 minute I was not even fine. 1 minute I was like, I stopped crying a bit, and then I went back to crying. You know when like there's a pause where you're not even reading, you're like trying to process everything you just read. You just cry, so you're just processing what you were crying about, and then you carry on reading only to cry more. Yeah, that was me this entire book, because this is about second chance romance. It's about miscommunication. It's about knowing you both are soulmates, but at the same time you cannot be together. And because of that, because you believe your relationship is going to turn toxic, and you love that person so much, you want to see them happy because you can see that they're not happy with you, you decide to let them go. And it's fake dating. This was my first Emily Henry book, and let me tell you, because of this book, you know there's an entire Emily Henry series, right, where you have to start, I think it's Book Lovers or Book something, I don't even remember the first book that you have to read. Yeah, because of this book I will be going back to read that book and follow on with the series up until I get here, and then the other book after this is Funny Story. Because of this book I will be starting the Emily Henry series. I am joining her train of followers. I am joining the cult. Yeah. The next book we have is the third book in the King of Sin series, which is King of Greed. When I tell you I loved this book, I loved this book so much. It is a second chance romance. They are husband and wife. He no longer, not that he no longer cares for her, but he is no longer as attentive as before. So to her it seems like he no longer loves her, because he's paying more attention to work. Like everything he has achieved thus far, like I think he's a billionaire. Is he a millionaire or a billionaire? Billionaire, yeah, massive difference. So he's a billionaire now, but nothing is enough for him. He still wants to achieve more. He still wants to acquire more, go up even more. But then as he is climbing that ladder each and every time, I think the ladder is even full now, he's somewhere, each and every time he goes up, he forgets his wife. He forgets the person who was always with him from day one, the person he was grinding with, the person who held him down, a person that believed he was enough as he was before the money, before his name became a national whatever. Now he's more focused on other things, and he forgets anniversaries, birthdays, I don't know, other things, like important aspects of her life. He forgets them up until she reaches a point where she's like, you know what, I'm done, and you carry on, do you, and I'll also do me. I have my own things, I have aspirations as well. I was holding you down, you could not do the same for me. When you were going up, you genuinely forgot about me, and that's okay, I'll leave. And it is such a beautiful book. It is so freaking sad. Each and every time her POV came up, I just knew I was gonna cry, which I did. I think we can establish by now I'm a motherfucking crybaby. I think one thing I just did not like about this book is the fact that I felt he did not grovel enough. Like he did not suffer. enough for me to be like, okay, fine, it's time for you to forgive him. But I'm not his wife. I don't know him. Maybe he did, maybe he did not. Highly recommend though. I think it's the third book. Is it the third book or the second book? No, it's the third book. Yeah. And then the next two books I'm about to recommend is from, it's a new author that I've read, but I have fallen in love with her writing. Literally fallen in love with her writing. I just do not have physical copies of her book. I will be buying soon. And it is The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa and The Worst Best Man, but also by Mia Sosa. When I tell you, she has become my favorite, one of my favorite rom-com. She has become one of my favorite rom-com authors, because when you are looking for something cute and fluffy, like genuinely cute and fluffy, without miscommunication, without like you feeling like you're gonna sob or go crazy, these are the two books. If you're just looking for something that's straight up romance, like maybe there's a hiccup here and there, but it's just like 2 chapters and then you're done. That is these 2 books. Even though the first book, which is The Worst Best Man, almost gave me a heart attack, because we even got to the epilogue, we even got to the last chapter, and they still did not reconcile. What do you mean? We're at the last chapter, they still trying to figure shit out. I was getting anxious there for a bit, but in the end, they clarify what happened. Yeah. So The Worst Best Man is about a girl. She is left, basically the bride is left at the altar, right? And then her almost husband, or the person that left her at the altar, literally sends a message to the best man and is like, dude, I can't do this, like I cannot marry her, so you have to tell her. I'm gonna go soul searching, I'm gonna go look for myself, I'm gonna go try and find myself, rebuild or reconnect with nature or whatever, but you gotta tell her the news that this wedding is over, like I'm done with her. When I tell you, that man would have been gagged if that was me. I would have him by this. I would. Ooh, she was a bigger person than me. When I saw him for the first time, the fact that I think years passed, or months, years passed, and I saw each other for the first time. This man did not even apologize. This man came back from where he was. I think he spent 3 months there. Came back to the city where everyone lived, where he knew that woman lived there in that city, but still did not get time to fucking apologize. You left at the motherfucking altar. You planned that too together. You planned that wedding together. Literally sat there and be like, okay, fine, I say yes. You got on one knee because you wanted to marry me, and then you motherfucking leaving me at the altar. Who do you think you are? Could never be. She is a bigger person than me, because I would have had him by gagging. And then we have The Wedding Crasher. With this one, it's literally as it says. She crashes his wedding because she finds out something about the bride, and it's like, I cannot allow such to happen. I cannot let this man continue with this wedding. I cannot let this woman marry him when she feels like this, or she's been doing this, or this and this has been going on between the relationship and nobody knew. So she stops the wedding, and then it goes to fake dating. So this trope is fake dating, and it was beautiful, remarkable. Loved them both. I think this one is workplace romance, this one is fake dating. If you're looking for a cute fluffy romance that is not complicated, that is easy to get into, that is fast paced, funny, has the most beautiful banter, and also amazing spice, definitely these 2 books. The last romance book I'm going to be talking about is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Now let me tell you something about this book. The reason why this book actually is on the books I cannot stop talking about or stop thinking about is because this book got me out of a reading slump. Like, it genuinely got me out of the worst reading slump. I could not believe that an Ali Hazelwood book got me this. And this was my first book of hers, and not because I doubted her writing or whatever, but because I never expect new authors to get me out of reading slump. So her doing this opened up a world where, okay, fine, if I'm in a reading slump, I should try new authors, and it worked. Plus, another thing that made me think about this book, this was my first cartoon cover book. That being said, there was this fight on TikTok about how cartoon covers are very deceitful. People need to stop, authors need to stop producing cartoon covers. And when I tell you, nothing about this book gave cartoon. The spice of this book did not give cartoon. Nothing about this book was giving cartoon. Both of them are scientists. Her best friend is in love with someone, so she needs to convince her best friend that love is real and that she's also in love with someone, and decides to fake date this one who also has an agenda of his own that he needs to prove something, and together they fake date. Basically, I'm in love with fake dating. I think we can establish that by now. It's getting pretty late, so I think I might wanna hurry this video up. Okay, now we are at dark romance. First book I'm going to talk about is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This book was an emotional roller coaster, and I think there's a certain part of this book that I do not like, because there's a certain trope that I can't stand, and because it hits home. Let me just say that it hits home, and I don't fuck with that. I do not fuck with books that hit home, where I'm like, fuck, I was in that type of relationship as well. So that's why. But because of that, I cannot stop thinking about this book, and it was so good. Like, don't get me wrong, just because I hated that specific part of the book means that this book was bad. This book was fucking phenomenal. It was traumatic, but unbelievably beautiful. Unbelievably beautiful. Basically, two people get kidnapped, they know each other, and they're forced, as they're kidnapped, they're forced to get to know each other. They bond, literally are forced to bond in a certain way that because of that, they share this type of trauma together that they'll be imprinted in each other's life forever. The shit they went through sticks with them forever. So you might want to go read this one. Read trigger warnings. I should have just started with that before getting into any of these dark romance books that I'm talking about. Read trigger warnings. The next book we have Praise by Sarah Kate. Now when I tell you, now this book is something else. This was my first ever not dad romance, ex-boyfriend's father type of romance, and it did not disappoint. It's ex-boyfriend, not best friend, ex-boyfriend's father and workplace romance. He owns a sex club. Is it a sex club? Yeah, it is a sex club, and she is his assistant. Dark romance books, I will not be telling you what they're about. I'll just be giving like, there's a bit of this, there's a bit of that, and then I'm done. With these ones, honey, with these ones, you're gonna have to go and read them yourself, or Google the blurb of the book, because I might be giving details. I don't want to get cancelled. Yeah. And then the most controversial book that I've read, that people I think are gonna come for me for loving, Credence by Penelope Douglas. This book was phenomenal. This book was amazing. This book was about a family coming together in more ways than one. If you know, you know. If you don't, go read the book. Go read the book, you'll find out. But basically, this girl, her parents, this girl is now an orphan, so she needs to move in with her distant family, which is her uncle. So she moves from the city to this forest place, far away from civilization, and moves in with her uncle, who has two boys, who lives with his two sons, and they come together as a family. Yeah. The next dark romance books, okay, I'm just gonna read this part, and then the next dark romance book is the Monsters trilogy by Rena Kent. every one of these books were phenomenal. My favorite was the second one. I think it's Lies of My Monster. Can't remember. That was my favorite out of the entire series. When I tell you, this was the first dark romance book that had me crying. Because the way he's like, at one point, I'm just gonna spoil it, like, he's like, fuck, I miss my wife. He's like, my wife would have loved this sappy shit, like the romance, the books, the music. My wife would have loved this type of shit. And read the book, you'll understand what it means. Because of these books, I genuinely am thinking of starting the entire Rena Kind series, which is 36 pages. Not pages, books. 36 books. Massive difference. The last two books real quick. Finally, we have Captured in Little Stranger by two different authors who I can't remember. But yeah, here are the pictures. Both of them very traumatic, very twisted, very yummy. Why did I just say yummy? They were so good. I'm just trying to remember. Little Stranger is about foster siblings. One of them gets arrested because one of them is a psychopath. Yes, both are psychopaths, I think. The other one is just able to control it, or she has another disorder that I can't remember. The male is definitely a psychopath because of the things he did. In this book, they reference the itty bitty spider. Like, you know the song, the itty bitty spider went up the wall again. Yeah, they reference that book. But let me tell you, you see how the itty bitty spider is like a cute ass children's song? Nothing is cute as children-ish about this book. A spider is involved, a real live spider, and it is used in a way you will never, or you could never imagine. Anyways, Captured. Ooh, this was my first, I think this was the first book that I read, and while reading it, I thought to myself, something is wrong with you. How could you be enjoying this? If you've read this book, you'd understand why I'm saying that. Because basically she falls in love with her kidnapper. And that's not even the most sadistic part. So be cautious when going into this one. And my last, I think this is my favorite dark romance book. Well, top 5. Yeah. It has to be Obsession. I think it's by, I don't even know who it's by. It is Obsession. Now, he is in jail. He is in jail. She is a reporter. He will not talk to anyone but her. So she decides to visit him in prison to get the story on why he did all the heinous things he did. He becomes obsessed with her. She becomes like, oh, okay. They do shit in prison that they're not supposed to do. He escapes and sends her presents. I'll say it again. He sends her presents. As to what those presents are, you'll have to go read the book. Alright, thank you for sticking till the very end of the video. Hope to see you next time really soon. Yeah. Bye.